What up, YouTube? It's your girl Pimp back with another video, back with another Black Excellent video. And today I have a special guest with me. But before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you share this video and always thumbs it up. You can thumbs it down. Definitely make sure you leave some messages in the comments so I can know what y'all want out there. But without further ado, I have my great friend on here, Refrigerator Q. How are you?
What's going on, Pimp? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Well, besides this little snow, but I'm doing good because I'm here in Chicago.
Oh, okay, yeah, man. I
So
know very little about Chicago. I'm down here in Georgia. We
yeah, I
got
saw that. Okay.
warm weather today, coldish tomorrow. You never can tell.
Now, how far are you from like Atlanta, or are you in Atlanta area?
Well, I'm in what's considered the Metro Atlanta area. I'm in Decatur, actually.
Okay, you in Decatur. Oh, well, that's not too far. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. But introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are.
All right. Well, I'm Refrigerator Q. I'm the owner, CEO of Strap House Customs. Strap House Customs is a gunsmith in FFL. We're focused on safe function, maintenance, repair, customization, and upgrade of firearms.
Okay, okay. And then how did you come up with the name?
Well, it's a funny story. So my mom, which I'm kind of like you, so I take care of my mom. She's been pretty much disabled for many years. She's had illnesses pretty much my entire life. So my sister and I really dedicate a lot of time to helping take care of her. But she
Hmm.
has actually one of her conditions causes her to kind of mix words.
Hmm.
And so I was telling her the idea of starting my business. She's always been kind of nervous about firearms. And so between the TV shows that she watches
Hmm.
and the stuff we see in the media, she was like, I'm telling her about starting my business. She was like, well, this ain't gonna be no strap house, like, and I think she meant trap house,
Okay.
but she said trap house, and so we were like, I looked at my sister and we were like, oh, that's kind of good.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Shout out to moms.
Yes, definitely. Shout out to my mom and to my sister as
Hmm.
well. Much love to my family.
So how did you become like, involved in with guns? Like how old were you when all that started?
Well, as far as guns, man, I've always had like an interest in anything that's been kind of considered dangerous. So, being a
Okay.
kid, a child of the '80s, watching all the classic action movies, of course, that's kind of how I became interested. But in my family, we weren't a firearms family. Even my father being a police officer and being in the military,
Hmm.
even through him, it was only once that I saw, an actual firearm in my house.
Hmm.
Um, my interest in firearms grew as I got older and older, and eventually my graduation present to myself from college was a Taurus PT 92.
Shout out to the Tauruses.
So yeah, definitely. I know he figures you like that, but yeah. So that's kind of how I got into it, and I have a degree in electronics and manufacturing. So
Hmm.
I just naturally tinker with stuff, and so it wasn't long before I took it apart, and of course cleaning it and maintenance. But specifically, what kind of got me the idea to want to start, being a gunsmith in an FFL
Hmm.
was spending a lot of time going to gun shows here in the Metro Atlanta area. I noticed there was, a lot of people like myself,
Hmm.
excuse me, that were, interested in firearms and going to these shows and things like that. But there wasn't a lot of us on the other side of the table.
Hmm.
In some instances, in most instances, most of these vendors are very nice. They're very knowledgeable. They would talk to anybody.
Hmm.
But there still are some, and some places I would go, some of the ranges I would go to, and I could tell that there's a little bit of hesitation sometimes.
Yes.
And what ultimately, as I did more research into the firearms industry, and noticing there wasn't really a lot of gunsmiths from our community.
Mm-hmm.
In the metro Atlanta area, there were a lot of people getting into the training, some awesome trainers here in Atlanta. There
Okay.
were some that are getting into like the FFLs. There are a few black FFLs in the Atlanta area, but there was no one that was really concentrating on the things that I like maintenance, repair, upgrades, and stuff
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
So that kind of gave me the inspiration to
Mm-hmm.
kind of get out there and start really looking into it, and so that's kind of what gave me the inspiration to do that.
Okay. Oh, that is so awesome. That's so awesome. And so how long have you well, what does one do to get like a gunsmithing? Is it a certificate or
So I like to use the example of a mechanic, right?
okay.
So a gunsmith is like a mechanic for firearms, right?
Hmm.
So they can help you take your car apart, put it back together. You tell them what you want to do with your car, you tell them what kind of problems you're having, they help you fix it. Now, there's some mechanics who you just know they've been working on cars for a long time. They have a certain knowledge. You
Hmm.
can see the stuff that other people that they've helped. Um, and then there's some mechanics that went to a trade school and ASC and all of this type of certifications and stuff like that.
Hmm.
In some cases, some of these shops, these nationwide shops and stuff, the dealer shops have their own, training programs and stuff like that. So, it's many different ways to kind of get into gunsmithing. Me
Hmm.
personally, I'm just one of those guys who I've just learned it on my own.
Okay.
Like I'm just constantly, if it's not some new book, if it's not some new manual, like I'm one of those guys that, I actually read my firearms manuals. I don't read manuals for a lot of other stuff,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I actually read mine too.
my car audio and my firearms, those
Firearm. Yep.
manuals, I definitely, will go through. So, in that case, I'm constantly training and studying and stuff like that. But as
Hmm.
far as any kind of certification, you don't necessarily, it's not any requirement. It's not like a doctor, like a lawyer, where you have to have a degree or you have to pass
Hmm.
certain tests and stuff like that. So, right now I'm just standing on the quality of my work and, you know, just being honest.
Hmm.
I work on what I work on. I don't work on what I don't work on. If it's something that I know about but haven't actually performing it, I'll be honest and let people know. I'm not
Yep.
going to just lie and say, "Oh, I'm the best thing smoking." No, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. I'm still working. But for someone who you need some help and you talk to me and you feel comfortable, we definitely give it a shot. I have a lot of mentors and people that I go to for inspiration. I have a lot of resources outside of just YouTube.
Okay.
Actually go and look up and get things like the breakdowns and I can like the blueprint, so to say, um,
Hmm.
for whatever type of firearm. You know what I mean? Like there's
Hmm.
certain tools and things that you need that as just a regular gun owner you might not have. So that's just
Hmm.
kind of how I'm working my way into it. Eventually, will I maybe at some point, take some type of certification? I'm sure I will. Glock has some, certifications that they do and some of the other manufacturers like that. So yeah, I'll be
Okay.
getting into that. But, as of right now, to maybe go to a traditional gun school or something like that. That's just not in the books for me. But will I eventually? It's very possible. So as an FFL, there is some paperwork that's required.
Okay.
Okay, so to get the federal firearms license to be able to transfer and sell and process firearm sales, there is a certain amount of paperwork that you have to do that. Now,
Okay.
the major difference between a gunsmith with and without an FFL is that according to the federal government, if you're making money from doing gunsmithing services,
Hmm.
you should have an FFL. Now,
Okay.
there's a lot of us out here who have friends and, people we know that, can do the work.
Hmm.
And there's nothing against that. But for me, I just chose to get that license. Having that license allows me to federally be responsible for firearms if I have to keep them overnight. I do keep certain records and things like that.
Okay.
If you purchase a firearm from me brand new, we will have to fill out the 4473. We do have to go through the federal background check unless you have what in here in Georgia we have a carry license. If you
Okay.
have that carry license, we just take that information as opposed to having to do the actual background check. But I
Okay.
did kind of want to go back and kind of mention that, yeah, like that. So that's to me that's the major differentiation between a gunsmith that is just someone who does gunsmithing
Mm-hmm.
versus someone who can, as a business owner, say, you know, being a gunsmith.
Being a gunsmith. Now, true or false, is Georgia you said they do have to have the license, or is it an open state? Because I thought they
Well,
just passed something
we
recently.
we did recently within the last year or so change to what a lot of people refer to as a constitutional carry.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
no, you don't have to have a carry license to conceal carry a firearm here in Georgia, as long as you already have your gun rights. So if you're a felon, domestic violence, like any of the things that would keep you from when you fill out that 4473, any of the things
Mm-hmm.
that would bar you from owning a firearm federally, still are do that law doesn't allow you to carry.
Mm-hmm.
So just be careful. So if you don't have your gun rights in Georgia, just because it's not a license that's required, you still can get yourself, you're still federally barred if you don't meet those minimum
Okay.
requirements.
And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people mistake that. Like, oh, we open carry, so that means I can carry. Like, nah, you still have to follow the same requirements if you had a
Right.
carry concealed license.
Right.
So,
And then if you go here in Georgia, whether you go to a gun show or whether you go to a actual gun store, like a brick
hmm.
and mortar. Me personally, I don't have a brick and mortar for people to visit. Everything I do is custom order
Okay.
at this particular time. So if you go to a brick and mortar and you purchase a firearm, you still here in Georgia, you still have to fill out the same paperwork. You still have to go through the same deal. Now here in Georgia, we do, there is the private sale, which is
Mhm.
kind of a gray area. But for me, now that I have that federal firearms license, I can no longer do that.
Got you. Got you. Let's get a little politics. Here in Illinois, they trying to screw us over. And now, the government with this whole brace thing. What's your take on everything going on right now?
Well, technically, the way I feel about firearms regulation is that any firearms regulation is really like a racist deal. So, pretty much the first, firearms laws and concealed carry laws and all of that stuff kind of came about,
Mm-hmm.
after slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when freed slaves, they didn't want us to have firearms.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at a lot of that kind of from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do believe that there needs to be some type of not so much regulation, but you can't drive a car without license.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm
Some type of
saying? Like
training,
you can't
yeah.
drive a big ass truck without a permit. You know what I mean? Like some
Right.
things in life need to be
In
not say
place.
regulated, but I hate to
Mm-hmm.
say regulated to kind of sound like that, but
Yeah.
you need to have something. You may have to go through some type of process so that you understand the serious nature of what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it shouldn't be any type of prohibitive cost.
Mm-hmm.
Something in the $15 to $20 range. I don't think it should be any type of like class requirement, but you need to at
Mm-hmm.
least sit down and fill out some forms and say, hey, this is my address, this is where I reside.
Right. And mm-hmm.
This is I own firearms.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put down how many and all of that, and ain't nobody
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep up with you or track you. But I feel like as a responsible citizen, some things just you know what I mean. Like that may not be a popular opinion, but
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it shouldn't be anything that the process itself, the cost of that process shouldn't be prohibitive to keep you from
Getting that
your
firearm.
rights. These are your rights as an
These are your
American
rights.
citizen.
Mm-hmm.
We pay. I pay my taxes. I
Mm-hmm.
expect certain things back. Now, would it be nice if it was just that easy? Yes, but politically, I don't like to make a lot of fuss. I do keep
Mm-hmm.
up with it because, again, as a business owner, I do have to kind of have an understanding of what's going to be expected from me.
From you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of my problem with the brace law. So the brace was a product that was, at some point approved to be
Mm-hmm.
sold to the public. It wasn't one of these fly by night products that just kind of appeared on the market.
Right.
And once it's like, oh, hold on, you can't just be doing that now. But this, from what I understand, and this is millions, it's millions of them. Like
Right.
that to me is weird. But me personally, I'm going to either remove the brace from the firearms I have.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to removing the brace, any adapter that is needed to make that brace fit the firearm technically should be removed as well.
Well. Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't, so the way this kind of the verbiage now, from where I understand it, the research that I've done, um, for instance, so my Z-Pap when I purchased it, it didn't have a brace.
Okay.
But my Z-Pap has a brace on it now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it. But there is also the little piece on the back that allows you to add that brace. It did come factory installed. So I'm just going to remove it.
Yep. Just say the hassle. You
Right,
know.
yeah. I'm gonna wait until the absolute last moment. There's
Mm-hmm.
still,
There's lawsuits going on, and
hundreds of days before,
yeah.
you know, it was like originally 120 days that they have for you to, do whatever you're gonna do. Um, I'm also going to possibly change barrels. It's depending on what the budget allows. Is what's going to determine that. A lot of stuff I do is budget minded. So, at this point, I'm trying to spend more money on equipment
Mm-hmm.
versus more pew pew, which is, it's always kind of like this thing. It's like, buy a gun, do I buy a sandblaster?
Mm-hmm.
So, just
Yeah.
trying to stay focused on, being able to provide more services.
Services. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna be dope. That's gonna be dope, man. It's just for me with the whole law thing. It's like it's not protecting the citizens because at the end of the day, all the laws that you making is for us and not the criminals. They still carrying
Yeah,
drums. They still carrying
yeah,
switches. So
yeah.
how am
That's
I
my
supposed to
favorite
protect
thing.
myself?
Yeah, criminals don't care about laws, so
Yeah. So it's like,
you
but me trying to protect myself from the
know,
criminals, I can't because now you limited my capacity. Now I can't have a 30 mag. I gotta have a 10. You
I
know.
mean, I'm one of those. I consider myself a rebel, but I like to pick a cause. So for me,
And for the black
would
community, we got
it
a lot of
be harder
causes.
to, will my follow up shots be harder to do without my brace? Yeah. Um, do I want to make a stand and dare somebody to come get it? No, I don't.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't. Like, I believe in self defense. I love shooting my firearms, but for me, I'm a human life. You know what I mean? It's just like it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like this little, like, all right, if they take it, I mean, I'm not gonna be happy, but I mean, I'm not gonna mow down ATF agent storming my house. Like I'm not living my
Yeah.
life like that. But to
And that's
each
what
his
I'm
own.
a, yeah, and that's what I'm afraid that's going to happen too. So now, I like you said, like people come to the house and people get aggressive with the law enforcement because at the end of the day, they're doing their job. They have to abide by
Yeah,
the law.
somebody told them to do it. You're right.
You know, so but you got those people who it's my constitutional right. This is my.
I mean, I feel that way too. It is our right, and we should be able to own, any firearm. But then again, at the same time, when these guys wrote this law, were they thinking about muskets? Were they thinking about a musket gun, or were they thinking about in the future we gonna have, high
Right.
capacity
High capacity.
rifles?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, some people may say, well, they weren't thinking about, self defense. They were thinking about a country's defense.
A country defense.
Because,
Mm-hmm.
right, because that's how we became the United States,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because the citizens had guns. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So, I didn't really want this to go to the political way, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid these topics.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said earlier, with race thing, I just wish it was based on just something period versus oh, because okay, so for example, one of the guns people down here that I go to, he was interviewed on the news and he made a great statement. He was like, I live near Inglewood and Auburn Gresham, which is like black communities around Chicago with
Mm-hmm.
high violence. And he said it wasn't until you shot up a white rich neighborhood that you want to come up with these laws.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, make it make sense. You always want to tell us it's not about race. But like you said, most gun laws was made to stop the black and brown community in some form, fashion, so they couldn't be able to carry and conceal.
Right.
And he's a white guy. So for him to say that on TV, everybody was just like, wow. But he made sense. He
Mm-hmm.
made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I just wish that, from that standpoint, that our politicians would kind of really be, more proactive and less reactive. But,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I that's not really, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say
Yeah.
nothing too crazy. I just feel like, you know, it, things can be better,
Mm-hmm.
you know. We as a people just have to kind of remember that, we have our ways to legally voice our opinions,
Mm-hmm.
and we should constantly do that. If you feel like there's something that is wrong, you should stand up and speak up against it, and that's just on any level.
Yes.
You know,
Peacefully. Peacefully.
I mean,
If
again,
you
I mean,
can.
it's kind of hard to, the book that I'm reading currently is the Negroes with Guns by Robert F. Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sometimes, man, sometimes we have to understand that we do have to defend ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and our community. You know, Peace is cool. Some things can change, can be happen peacefully, but you know, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like,
We know the history. We know the
right,
history.
right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we just have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be there. You know what I mean? Like, we it ain't got to be always some super aggressive, over radicalized type of movement.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
just like we have people that are going to stand up front and be that voice, somebody got to hold it back.
Somebody hold it back. Yeah.
Somebody got to hold it back. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's just how I feel. So, I mean, peace is cool. Don't get me wrong. If peace should be the first way, but you know, I say turn the other cheek, but I ain't got but two. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, like
And
I'm a
zero fucks to
very
give.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a very nonviolent person. Like, people who know me, like, you get to know me. Like, I can come off aggressive sometimes, but I'm a really genuine. I'm a really, good-hearted person. I wouldn't want any harm to come to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I really wouldn't. And that's kind of to go back to why I kind of started Strap House. It's just so that in our community we can have an understanding to kind of change the narrative. Like, I mean,
Yes.
literally,
Yes.
my mom was asking me, like, are you selling drugs? Like, is somebody after you? Like, why every time I turn around, you talking about getting another gun? Mind you, I had only one gun at that time.
Yeah.
I'm, because my focus is, it's more on the gunsmithing side. So, I actually, up until the end of 2022, only owned 3 firearms. So,
So,
you know, I mean, I'm not this great big collector, but my mom is just like so concerned.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she was just like, because in her mind, my mom growing up in Atlanta, where she grew up in, everybody she knew was either, if you wasn't a cop, if you had a gun, you was up to no good.
Good. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So so for her, I'm just trying to change that. And for
Hmm.
her, getting her comfortable with me having my firearm everywhere we go.
Yep. Absolutely. Well,
And her,
man.
you know, like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so for her, just getting comfortable with that, and just trying to change the narrative and just help our people understand that there is a way for you to have and handle and carry these firearms in a safe manner. And we have to be responsible. We
Yep.
have to be responsible. You're responsible for the firearm, whether it's with you or whether it's at home.
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
And it's very important to me that we talk about, and I want to make sure that we mention this, the 4 universal firearms rules.
Hmm.
Anytime I talk to people about guns, that's going to come out my mouth. And just for the record, we're gonna, make sure we treat all firearms as if they're loaded.
As they loaded. Yes, sir. Hmm.
We're going to make sure that we keep our finger off the trigger until we're ready to fire
Hmm.
or shoot, or however you want to say it. We want to make sure that we don't point the muzzle, the business end of our firearms at anything that we're not willing to destroy.
Story. Absolutely.
Okay? And so then we want to make sure that we know our target and what's beyond it
Hmm.
and what's around it, what's next to it, what's behind it, what's
Hmm.
underneath it.
Hmm.
And then we want to, what I like to say is the bonus is never try to catch a falling firearm.
Yes.
Never try to catch
Yes.
a falling firearm. Cause we catch a gun, we catch like this, right?
Yep.
We
Yep.
pull the trigger like this.
Yep.
I mean, I actually heard a story on the news. My mom was like, "Hey, did you hear about this guy?" So this guy actually walking around one of the local retail stores. I wasn't sure if it's one of the grocery stores or one of
Hmm.
the big box stores with a firearm without a proper holster.
Please
And
get hostess,
somebody,
people. Please get hosters.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, if he'd have just let it hit the ground,
Hmm.
you know, but he tried to grab it, fires, it misses him, but it ricochets off the ground, and now, somebody's dead and somebody's injured.
Injured. And man.
So
Hmm.
anybody that if Big Fridge behind you and you look like you're not really holding that shit together the way you should, probably
Hmm.
gonna tap you on your shoulder. Don't
Mm.
take no offense. You know what
Man.
I'm saying? Because I'm just that guy.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm gonna give you one of my business cards. I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna let you know I can get it right for you. You know what I'm saying? We can, we can funk it up for you. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you want. But when you leave it, when you get it back from me, you're gonna know how to safely handle it.
Yeah.
And
And that's
that's
so
where,
important.
yeah, and that's where my training comes from. Like I'm not a trainer. I'm a gunsmith. The training that I do, my strap house custom shooting experience, is just a chance for shooters. I take shooters to the range, and I make sure you can operate your firearm in a safe way.
In a safe
We
way.
use some dry fire training aids before we go in. I have premium ear and eye protection, so all of that stuff is important.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like Like how does our community not know that, there's electronic ear protection?
Yep.
Like
Hmm.
when I talk to if you go to the range with me, I'm not gonna have to yell at you. I might do it by mistake because I tend to be loud sometimes. But no, we premium ear and eye protection. So you're gonna be able to hear me. I'm gonna be able to hear you. We're gonna be able to go in there and help you feel confident. Now, I'm not the one that's gonna teach you how to roll through the mud and be no John Wick or nothing like that. And hit the X every time, in 10 seconds, nah, I'm not that guy.
I'm not
But
that guy.
I got some people that can do it, and it's gonna be from our community.
That's awesome sauce. Man, this has been an awesome, 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 awesome interview. Let people know how they can contact you, how they can follow you on all the social media platforms, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that platinum platform one of these days, the both of us, both of us. But yeah, no, so Refrigerator Q at Refrigerator Q on Instagram, Strap House Customs LLC on Facebook, straphousecustoms.com, Strap House Customs if you just type it into Google.
Okay.
Check me out,
Yep.
straphousecustoms.com. You can see everything that I offer. I have examples of some of the work that I do. I have links to a lot of my partners, riflewraps.com, USCCA, Brownells, PSA, Gun Broker. Like I'm building and we just getting bigger. So if it's anything in the Atlanta area, gunsmith and FFR related, even if it's just a simple question,
Hmm.
hit me up.
Yes, and YouTube, y'all know I'm gonna put all that in the description down below. Once again, Refrigerator Q, thank you so much for blessing me with this interview. Shout out to the Qs. Shout out to the Qs. Man, y'all, thank y'all for watching this wonderful interview. Until the next one, we're gonna see you later. Peace.
Peace.
Stay on real quick. Stay on.